The rain felt like tiny needles against Tasha Reynolds' skin as she stood outside the iron gates of the Bennett estate, her hands trembling around the envelope that held more money than she'd ever seen in her life. Inside her belly, two small lives grew, unaware that their father's family had just paid their mother to disappear. The check was for $200,000. The price, apparently, of her silence and absence. "Take it and go," Catherine Bennett had said just minutes ago, her voice cold as the marble floors of her mansion. "My son has a future ahead of him. You're not part of it." Tasha had wanted to refuse. She'd wanted to throw the money back in that woman's face and demand to speak to Andrew. But Andrew was somewhere overseas, closing a deal that would make him millions, and his phone went straight to voicemail every time she called. She'd been trying to reach him for 3 days to tell him about the babies. 3 days of silence that had given his mother time to find her, corner her, and make it clear that she wasn't welcome in their world. The worst part was that Tasha had no one to turn to. Her parents were gone. Her only sister lived across the country, struggling with 3 kids of her own. Tasha's apartment lease was ending in 2 weeks, and her job as a receptionist barely covered her bills. She was 24 years old, pregnant with twins and completely alone. So she'd taken the money. She'd looked Catherine Bennett in her cold blue eyes and taken the check because her babies needed food and shelter and medical care. Because sometimes pride was a luxury you couldn't afford. Because the man she loved was unreachable, and his family wanted her gone, and fighting them felt impossible when she was already so tired. Now, standing in the rain with mascara running down her cheeks, Tasha made herself a promise. She would use this money to build a life for her children. She would be both mother and father to them. She would teach them kindness and hope and love, even if their father's family had shown her none of those things. And maybe someday when they were older and asked about their father, she would tell them the truth, that she'd loved him, but love alone couldn't cross the walls his family had built. Tasha turned away from the mansion, away from the life she'd imagined, and walked toward the bus stop. The envelope in her purse felt heavy. Her heart felt heavier. But her hand moved to her stomach, to the 2 tiny heartbeats inside, and she kept walking. 1 foot in front of the other. That was all she could do. Behind her, the Bennett mansion stood tall and untouchable, its windows glowing warm in the rain. Tasha didn't look back. Have you ever had to choose between your pride and your children's future? Have you ever felt so alone that accepting help from someone who hurt you seemed like the only option? Drop a comment below and tell me what you would have done in Tasha's position. And if this story is pulling at your heartstrings, hit that subscribe button because you need to see how this journey ends. 3 weeks later, Tasha was in Portland, Oregon, as far from the Bennett family as she could get while still staying in the country. She'd found a small apartment in a quiet neighborhood, the kind of place where people said hello to each other at the grocery store and kids played in the streets until the streetlights came on. It wasn't fancy. The carpet was old and the heater made strange noises, but it was hers and it was safe. She'd also stopped trying to call Andrew. What was the point? His mother had made the situation clear. Tasha was an inconvenience, a problem to be solved with money and distance. If Andrew had wanted to find her, he could have. The fact that he hadn't told her everything she needed to know. Instead, Tasha focused on preparing for her babies. She bought 2 cribs from a second-hand store and painted them white. She washed tiny clothes in the apartment's coin laundry and folded them carefully in the dresser. She read books about raising twins and took vitamins and went to every prenatal appointment alone, watching other women arrive with partners and mothers and sisters while she sat by herself in the waiting room. The loneliness was heavy some days. But Tasha had learned something important. She was stronger than she thought. Every morning she woke up and made a choice to keep going. Every night, she put her hands on her growing belly and whispered promises to the babies inside. You will be loved, she told them. You will be wanted. You will know that you matter. On a cold November morning, Tasha went into labor 3 weeks early. She took a taxi to the hospital, timing her contractions with the app on her phone, breathing through the pain the way the books had taught her. The nurses were kind. They held her hand when she cried and told her she was doing great when she was sure she couldn't push anymore. At 6:47 a.m., Jordan Andrew Reynolds was born, 5 pounds and 3 ounces of squalling baby boy. At 6:51 a.m., his sister Jada Nicole Reynolds followed, 4 pounds and 15 ounces of pure determination. The nurses cleaned them up and placed them on Tasha's chest, 1 on each side, and Tasha looked down at their tiny faces and fell in love so completely that everything else stopped mattering. Hi, babies, she whispered, tears streaming down her face. I'm your mama. I've got you. I promise I've got you. And she did. For the next 8 years, Tasha kept that promise every single day. The money from Catherine Bennett lasted 3 years. Tasha was careful with every dollar, paying rent and buying formula and diapers and everything two growing babies needed. She took online classes and earned her teaching credential, then got a job at Riverside Elementary School as a kindergarten teacher. The pay wasn't great, but it was steady and she got to be home when the twins were home, which mattered more than anything. Jordan and Jada grew into bright, beautiful children. Jordan had his father's green eyes and serious expression, always asking questions and wanting to know how things worked. Jada had Tasha's warm brown eyes and ready smile, drawing pictures of everything she saw and making up stories about the characters she created. They looked like Andrew, especially Jordan, and sometimes Tasha would catch a glimpse of her son's profile and feel her heart twist with memories of the man she'd once loved. But she never told the twins the full truth about their father. When they asked, which they did sometimes, Tasha said their daddy had to live far away for work, and it was complicated, but it wasn't because he didn't love them. She didn't know if that was true, but she wanted her children to believe they were lovable. She wanted them to grow up without the weight of rejection she carried. Tasha's best friend Rochelle, a fellow teacher at Riverside Elementary, was her lifeline. Rochelle was the one person who knew the whole story, who'd been there through the late nights when the twins were babies and Tasha was so tired she could barely stand. Rochelle babysat when Tasha had parent-teacher conferences that ran late. She brought groceries when money was tight. She reminded Tasha that she was doing an amazing job, even on the days when Tasha felt like she was failing. "Those kids are lucky to have you," Rochelle would say, and Tasha would try to believe her. Life wasn't easy, but it was good. Tasha had her children, her job, her small apartment that now felt like home. She'd stopped thinking about Andrew Bennett most days. She'd stopped wondering what might have been if his mother hadn't interfered, if he'd answered his phone, if love had been enough. She'd moved on, or at least she'd thought she had, until the day everything changed. It was a Tuesday in September, 8 years after Tasha had walked away from the Bennett mansion in the rain. Riverside Elementary was hosting a community event, inviting local businesses to come talk to the students about different careers. Tasha was in charge of organizing the event, which meant she was running around all morning making sure everyone had name tags and the right classrooms and enough coffee. She was carrying a stack of programs toward the gymnasium when she heard a voice that made her freeze in place. "Thank you for having us here today. Bennett Industries is excited to support education in Portland." Andrew's voice. Older, deeper, but unmistakably his. The program slipped from Tasha's hands and scattered across the floor. She bent down quickly, her heart pounding so hard she could hear it in her ears. This couldn't be happening. Andrew Bennett didn't belong in Portland. He belonged in New York, in his family's world, 3,000 miles away from the life she'd built. But when Tasha looked up, there he was, standing at the front of the gymnasium in a blue suit, looking exactly like the man she remembered except more polished, more successful, more everything. His dark hair was shorter now, touched with gray at the temples. His face was leaner, harder, like the years had carved away everything soft. But his eyes were the same green that Jordan had inherited, and when those eyes scanned the crowd and landed on Tasha, they went wide with shock. Tasha grabbed the programs and turned to leave, her pulse racing. She needed to get out of here before he could approach her, before he could ask questions, before her carefully constructed life came crashing down. But as she headed toward the exit, she heard a child's voice call out, "Mommy, wait up." Jordan came running across the gymnasium, his backpack bouncing on his shoulders. Behind him, Jada followed more slowly, carrying the picture she'd drawn during art class. They were both wearing the red shirts Tasha had bought them for the new school year, both smiling because they loved when their mom came to school events, and both completely unaware that their father was standing 30 feet away, staring at them like he'd seen a ghost. Tasha's blood went cold. She moved quickly, trying to position herself between Andrew and the twins, but it was too late. Jordan had already noticed the tall man staring at them. "Mom, why is that guy looking at us weird?" Jordan asked, his voice carrying in the now quiet gymnasium. Andrew took a step forward, then another, his eyes moving between Jordan and Jada like he was doing math he couldn't quite believe. Tasha saw the moment understanding hit him. She saw his face go pale, saw his hand grip the podium for support, saw 8 years of questions get answered in the space of a heartbeat. "Tasha," he said, and his voice cracked on her name. "Tasha, are they?" But Tasha was already moving, ushering the twins toward the door, whispering that they needed to go, that she'd explain later. Jordan kept looking back at the strange man who seemed so upset. Jada clutched her mother's hand, confused by the sudden tension. And Andrew just stood there, watching them leave, his whole world tilting on its axis as he realized he had children. 2 children. 8 years old. 2 children he'd never known existed. The night after the school event, Tasha couldn't sleep. She lay in bed listening to the sounds of her apartment, the hum of the refrigerator, the distant traffic on the main road, the soft breathing of her children in the room next door. Everything felt different now. Andrew knew. After 8 years of silence, after building a life completely separate from the Bennett family, Andrew had seen Jordan and Jada, and there was no going back from that. Tasha kept replaying the look on his face. The shock. The realization. The way he'd gripped that podium like it was the only thing keeping him upright. Part of her felt satisfied that he'd been caught off guard the way she'd been caught off guard 8 years ago when his mother showed up at her door. But a bigger part of her felt terrified because she had no idea what came next. Would he want to be part of their lives? Would he try to take the children from her? Would his family come after her again, this time with lawyers instead of checks? Tasha pulled her blanket tighter and wished, not for the first time, that she had someone to talk to about this. Someone who could tell her what to do, how to protect her children, how to navigate the storm she felt coming. But there was no one except Rochelle, and it was 2 a.m, too late to call even her best friend. So Tasha just lay there, worrying and planning and trying not to cry because crying wouldn't help anything. The next morning came too soon. Tasha got the twins ready for school like always, making sure Jordan had his homework and Jada had her show-and-tell item. She packed their lunches, tied their shoes, kissed their foreheads and sent them off on the bus. Then she got ready for work herself, putting on her favorite green dress and the necklace the twins had made her for Mother's Day, trying to feel normal when everything felt wrong. At school, Tasha avoided the main office where she knew Andrew might try to find her. She stayed in her classroom during lunch, grading papers and pretending she wasn't constantly looking at the door. But Andrew didn't come. The day passed slowly, and by the time the final bell rang, Tasha was exhausted from the tension of waiting for something that never happened. Maybe he wasn't going to pursue this. Maybe seeing the twins had been enough to satisfy his curiosity, and now he'd go back to New York and his life would stay separate from theirs. Tasha wanted to believe that even though deep down she knew it was impossible. A man didn't look at children who were clearly his and just walk away. At least she hoped not. She hoped Andrew had more heart than his mother did. Tasha picked up the twins from after-school care and drove them home in her old sedan. Jordan talked about his science project and Jada sang a song she'd learned in music class, and everything felt normal and safe. This was her life. This was what she'd built. Whatever happened with Andrew, she would protect this. That night, after the twins were in bed, Tasha finally called Rochelle and told her everything. Rochelle listened without interrupting, the way she always did, and then said the thing Tasha needed to hear. "You're a good mom, Tash. Whatever happens, those kids know they're loved. Nobody can take that from you." "But what if he tries to take them?" Tasha whispered. "What if his family decides they want the kids but not me?" "Then you fight," Rochelle said simply. "You've been fighting for 8 years. You're good at it. And you're not alone this time. You've got me, you've got this community, you've got a job and a home and a record of being there for those children every single day. That matters." Tasha nodded even though Rochelle couldn't see her. "You're right. I'm scared." "I know. But being scared means you care. And caring is what makes you strong." After they hung up, Tasha felt a little better. Not great but better. She checked on the twins one more time, watching them sleep in their matching beds, their faces peaceful and innocent. Whatever came next, she would handle it. For them, she would handle anything. Meanwhile, across town, Andrew Bennett sat in his hotel room, staring at his phone. He'd pulled up every photo he could find of Tasha on social media, which wasn't many because she kept her accounts private. But there were a few public posts from the school's page, pictures from classroom activities and field trips, and in several of them he could see 2 children who looked exactly like him at that age. His children. He had children. The thought kept circling in his mind, too big to fully process. Andrew had spent 8 years wondering why Tasha left, why she disappeared without explanation, why every attempt to find her had come up empty. He'd hired investigators who'd found nothing. He'd called everyone who might know where she'd gone. He'd driven himself half crazy with questions that had no answers. And now he knew. She hadn't left him. She'd been driven away. Pregnant with his children. Alone. Andrew felt sick when he thought about it. He'd been so focused on work back then, so determined to prove himself to his father and the board of directors. He'd put his phone on airplane mode during negotiations because he didn't want distractions. He'd been unreachable for 4 days straight, and in those 4 days, everything had fallen apart. He could imagine his mother finding Tasha. Catherine Bennett was nothing if not efficient when she wanted something. She would have investigated Tasha, decided she wasn't suitable, and made her an offer designed to make her disappear. Andrew knew his mother well enough to know exactly how it would have gone. The cold voice, the calculated cruelty disguised as practicality, the money that made refusal seem foolish. And Tasha had taken it. Not because she was a gold digger like his mother probably claimed, but because she was pregnant and scared and alone. Andrew understood that now. He also understood that he'd failed her in the moment she needed him most. The guilt was overwhelming. But beneath the guilt was something else. A fierce need to know his children, to be their father, to fix what his family had broken. Andrew didn't know how Tasha would react to that. He didn't know if she'd even let him near the twins after everything that had happened. But he had to try. He picked up his phone and opened a new email to his assistant. Clear my schedule for the next month. I'm staying in Portland. And get me the best family lawyer in Oregon. I need advice, not for a custody battle, but for how to do this right. Because Andrew had learned something in the 8 years since Tasha left. Business success meant nothing if you lost the people who mattered. He'd built an empire, but he'd spent every night alone, wondering about the woman who'd disappeared, never moving on because no one else ever measured up to his memories of her. Now he had a chance to make things right. He wasn't going to mess it up again. The next day Andrew didn't go to Tasha's school. He'd been advised by his lawyer that showing up at her workplace would seem aggressive and might frighten her. Instead, he asked his assistant to send flowers to her classroom with a simple note. Please let me explain. Please let me meet them. Andrew. Tasha received the flowers during her lunch break. 24 white roses in a crystal vase, too expensive for a teacher's salary, impossible to ignore. She read the note 3 times, her hands shaking. The other teachers gathered around, cooing over the beautiful arrangement, asking who her secret admirer was. Tasha just smiled and didn't answer. But that night, after the twins were asleep, she sat at her kitchen table and wrote Andrew an email. She found his contact information on the Bennett Industries website, took a deep breath and typed. Andrew, I don't know what you want, but those children have a stable, happy life. I won't let you disrupt that. If you want to talk, we can talk. But we do this on my terms when I'm ready, and you accept whatever boundaries I set. If you can't agree to that, then stay away from us. Tasha. She hit send before she could second-guess herself. Then she poured a glass of wine and sat in the dark, waiting to see what happened next. Andrew's response came within an hour. I agree to all of that. Whatever you need. Whatever makes you comfortable. I just want a chance to know them and to apologize to you. Please. Andrew. Tasha read his email 5 times looking for the catch, the trap, the angle. But it seemed genuine. Or at least it seemed like he was trying to be genuine. That would have to be enough for now. She wrote back, Saturday, 10 a.m. The coffee shop on Pine Street. Just you and me first. No lawyers, no family, no surprises. I'll be there. Thank you, Tasha. And just like that, after 8 years of silence, they were going to see each other again. Tasha closed her laptop and put her head in her hands, wondering if she was making the right choice or the biggest mistake of her life. Only time would tell. Saturday morning arrived cold and clear. Tasha dropped the twins off at Rochelle's house, telling them she had errands to run and she'd be back in a few hours. Jordan wanted to come with her, but Tasha insisted they stay, promising they could get ice cream later. She kissed their heads and drove to the coffee shop, her stomach in knots. Andrew was already there when she arrived, sitting at a corner table away from the windows. He stood when he saw her, and Tasha was struck again by how much older he looked. Not in a bad way. Just different. The years had changed them both. Hi, he said, his voice careful. Hi, Tasha replied, sliding into the seat across from him. They stared at each other for a moment, 8 years of silence sitting between them like a wall. Then Andrew spoke and his voice cracked with emotion. I didn't know. Tasha, I swear I didn't know. If I had known you were pregnant, if I had known my mother went to see you, none of this would have happened. I would have been there. I would have wanted them. I would have wanted you. Tasha felt tears sting her eyes, but she blinked them back. She'd cried enough over Andrew Bennett. You weren't there. That's the point. You were unreachable, and your mother made it very clear that I wasn't welcome in your family. So I left. And I raised them by myself. And we're fine now. We don't need rescue. I'm not trying to rescue you, Andrew said quickly. I don't even know what I'm trying to do. I just saw them and they look like me and I realized I've missed 8 years of their lives. 8 years I can never get back. And I know that's my fault or my family's fault, but Tasha, please. Please let me know them. Let me be their father. His eyes were wet and Tasha could see he meant it. Whatever else was true, Andrew Bennett wanted his children. The question was whether Tasha could trust him enough to let him into their lives. What about your family? She asked. What about your mother? The woman who paid me to disappear. Andrew's jaw tightened. My mother doesn't control my life anymore. I'm not the kid I was 8 years ago. I run the company now. My father retired last year and I'm the CEO. What I say goes. And I say you and the twins are part of my life if you'll let us be. Tasha studied him, looking for lies or manipulation, but all she saw was sincerity and regret. It would be so easy to say no to protect herself and her children from potential hurt. But Rochelle's words echoed in her mind. Kindness and hope and love should always lead. Their names are Jordan and Jada, Tasha said finally. Jordan is serious and smart. He wants to be a scientist. Jada is creative and gentle. She loves art. They're good kids, Andrew. Really good kids. And if you do anything to hurt them, I will never forgive you. I won't, Andrew promised. I swear to you I won't. Then you can meet them. But slowly. We take this slow and the second they're uncomfortable we stop. Understood. Understood. Thank you, Tasha. Thank you for giving me this chance. Tasha nodded, not trusting herself to speak. She just agreed to let Andrew Bennett into their lives after 8 years of staying away. She hoped she wasn't making a mistake. But more than that, she hoped she was giving her children something they deserved. A father who wanted them. The week after Tasha agreed to let Andrew meet the twins was one of the longest of her life. She kept second-guessing her decision, lying awake at night wondering if she was doing the right thing. Jordan and Jada had been fine without a father for 8 years. They were happy, well-adjusted kids who didn't seem to be missing anything. Was she disrupting their peace by bringing Andrew into their world? But then she'd remember the look on Andrew's face when he'd seen them at the school. The pure shock and longing. The way his voice had broken when he asked to know them. Whatever else was true about Andrew Bennett, he genuinely wanted to be their father. And didn't the twins deserve to have both parents if both parents wanted them? Tasha decided to tell Jordan and Jada the truth before Andrew's first visit. On Wednesday night after dinner, she sat them down at the kitchen table and took a deep breath. I need to talk to you both about something important. Jordan immediately looked worried. He was always the more anxious of the two, always preparing for bad news. Are we in trouble? No, baby, you're not in trouble. Nobody's in trouble. I have something to tell you about your dad. Jada's eyes went wide. You mean our dad? The one who lives far away? Yes, that one. Tasha paused, choosing her words carefully. I haven't been completely honest with you about him. Your dad didn't know about you until last week. He didn't know I was pregnant when I had to move away. And now that he knows, he wants to meet you. Jordan's expression turned suspicious. Why didn't he know? Don't parents usually know about their kids? It's complicated, Tasha said. Sometimes adults make mistakes and things happen that nobody plans for. But the important thing is that your dad wants to know you now. And I said he could if you want to meet him too. What's he like? Jada asked, leaning forward with interest. She'd always been more curious about their father than Jordan was. He's tall. He has green eyes like Jordan's. He's a businessman, which means he runs a company. And he seems really sorry that he missed so much time with you. Is he nice? Jordan asked the question that mattered most. I think so, Tasha said honestly. He was nice when I knew him before. But people can change, so we're going to take this slow and see how it goes. If at any point you don't like him or you want him to leave, all you have to do is tell me. Your feelings matter most. Okay. Both children nodded, processing this information in their own ways. Jordan still looked uncertain, but Jada was smiling, clearly excited about meeting the mystery person who'd been absent their whole lives. When do we meet him? Jada asked. This Saturday. He's coming over for lunch. What should we call him? Jordan wanted to know. Tasha hadn't thought about that. Whatever feels right to you. Andrew is his first name. Or you can call him Dad if you want. It's up to you. Can he stay for my soccer game? Jordan asked suddenly. It's at 2. Tasha's heart squeezed. Her son, who'd been skeptical moments ago, was already thinking about whether his father would show up for him. I'll ask him, she promised. But Jordan, I need you to understand something. Your dad wants to be here now, but he's also a very busy person. Sometimes he might not be able to make every game or every recital. That doesn't mean he doesn't care about you. It just means he has responsibilities. Like you have responsibilities to your students, Jordan said, understanding. Exactly like that. Okay, Jordan said. I guess we can meet him. Jada was already drawing a picture, probably of what she imagined their father looked like. Tasha watched her children and felt hope and fear in equal measure. This was really happening. After 8 years, Andrew Bennett was coming back into her life, and this time he'd be staying. On Thursday, Andrew called Tasha's cell phone. She almost didn't answer, but curiosity won out. "Hi," he said when she picked up. "I hope it's okay that I'm calling. I just wanted to check in about Saturday." "It's fine," Tasha said. "I told them. They know they're meeting you." "How did they take it?" Jordan is cautious. Jada is excited. Pretty typical for their personalities. "What are they like?" Andrew asked, his voice hungry for information. "Tell me about them. I want to know everything." So Tasha found herself sitting on her couch, talking to Andrew about their children for over an hour. She told him about Jordan's love of science, how he asked a million questions about how things worked, how he'd already decided he wanted to study marine biology when he grew up. She told him about Jada's art, how she could spend hours drawing and creating, how she saw the world in colors and shapes that other people missed. She told him about their favorite foods, their bedtimes, their quirks and habits. She told him that Jordan hated loud noises and Jada couldn't sleep without her stuffed elephant. She told him about the time Jordan had defended another kid from a bully and got sent to the principal's office for fighting, even though Tasha was secretly proud of him for standing up for someone. She told him about Jada's first dance recital, how she'd frozen on stage and then started making up her own dance, completely ignoring the routine. And Andrew listened to all of it, asking questions, laughing at the funny stories, going quiet at the touching ones. When they finally hung up, Tasha realized she'd enjoyed talking to him. It felt good to share these stories with someone who cared as much as she did. It felt good not to be alone in the job of raising them. Maybe this could work. Maybe. Saturday arrived sunny and warm, a perfect September day. Tasha spent the morning cleaning the apartment even though it was already clean, nervous energy making her need to do something with her hands. She made sandwiches and cut up fruit and set the table with the nice plates Rochelle had given her for Christmas. Jordan and Jada were both dressed in their favorite outfits. Jordan wore his blue shirt with the rocket ships, and Jada wore her red dress with the pockets. They kept asking what time their dad was coming, checking the clock every 5 minutes like that would make time move faster. At exactly noon there was a knock on the door. Tasha's heart jumped into her throat. She looked at the twins, gave them an encouraging smile and went to open it. Andrew stood in the hallway holding a bag from the toy store and looking more nervous than Tasha had ever seen him. He dressed casually in jeans and a green button-down shirt, clearly trying not to look too formal or intimidating. His hands were shaking slightly. "Hi," he said. "Hi. Come in." Andrew stepped into the small apartment, and Tasha saw him take in the space. The worn furniture, the kids' artwork taped to the walls, the modest kitchen visible from the living room. She wondered what he thought, this man who'd grown up in mansions and probably lived in one now. But if he had judgments, he kept them to himself. "Jordan, Jada, this is Andrew," Tasha said. "Your dad." For a moment, nobody moved. Jordan and Jada stared at Andrew, and Andrew stared back at them, his eyes filling with tears he didn't try to hide. Then Jada, bless her brave heart, walked right up to him and held out her hand. "Hi, I'm Jada. I'm 8 in 3 months. I like drawing and my favorite color is purple." Andrew knelt down so he was at her level and shook her hand solemnly. "Hi Jada. It's so nice to meet you. I like drawing too, though I'm not very good at it." "I can teach you," Jada offered. "I'd like that." Jordan hung back, watching this exchange with cautious eyes. Andrew looked at him and didn't push, just gave him a small smile. "You must be Jordan. Your mom tells me you want to be a marine biologist." "Maybe," Jordan said noncommittal. "I haven't decided yet." "That's smart. It's good to keep your options open." They stood there awkwardly for a moment, and then Andrew held out the bag from the toy store. "I brought you both something. I hope that's okay. I wasn't sure what you liked, so I might have gotten it wrong." Jordan and Jada looked at their mother, asking permission without words. Tasha nodded and they opened the bag carefully. Inside were 2 identical boxes, one labeled for Jordan and one for Jada. Jordan's contained a high-quality microscope kit, and Jada's held a professional art set with more colors and brushes than she'd ever owned. "These are amazing," Jordan breathed, his reserve cracking. "Really amazing," Jada agreed, already opening her art set to examine every pencil and marker. "I'm glad you like them," Andrew said, looking relieved. Tasha watched this scene and felt something shift in her chest. Andrew had listened. He'd paid attention when she told him about their interests, and he'd chosen gifts that showed he cared about who they were as people, not just generic toys. It was a small thing, but it mattered. "Why don't we have lunch?" Tasha suggested. "You guys can show Andrew your rooms after we eat." They gathered around the small kitchen table, and Tasha served the sandwiches and fruit she'd prepared. The conversation was stilted at first, everyone trying too hard to be normal. But then Jada started telling a story about her art teacher, and Jordan chimed in with his own story about science class, and somehow they all relaxed into it. Andrew asked questions and listened to the answers. He told them a little about his work, explaining what a CEO does in terms they could understand. He was patient with Jordan's skepticism and delighted by Jada's enthusiasm. And when lunch was over and the kids dragged him to their room to show him their stuff, he sat on the floor and looked at every drawing and every science project like they were the most important things in the world. Tasha stood in the doorway watching, and despite all her fears and worries, she couldn't deny what she was seeing. Andrew Bennett was trying. Really trying. And the twins were responding to him, cautiously but positively. Maybe this really could work. After showing Andrew their room, Jordan suddenly remembered something. Mom said you might be able to come to my soccer game. It's at 2. Can you? Andrew looked at Tasha, checking if the invitation was real. She nodded. I would love to come to your soccer game, Andrew said. If that's okay with you. It's okay, Jordan said, and he almost smiled. So they all piled into Tasha's car and drove to the soccer fields where Jordan's team was playing. Andrew sat in the bleachers next to Tasha, with Jada between them coloring in her new art book. When Jordan scored a goal in the second half, Andrew jumped to his feet and cheered so loud that Jordan actually grinned, looking up at the stands to make sure his dad had seen. After the game, Jordan ran over to them, sweaty and happy. Did you see my goal? I saw it, Andrew said, and his voice was thick with pride. That was incredible, Jordan. You're really fast. Jordan's whole face lit up. It was the first time Tasha had seen him truly warm up to Andrew, and it made her heart ache with hope. They got ice cream after the game, all 4 of them crowded into a booth at the local shop. Jada told Andrew about her dance class, and Jordan explained the rules of soccer in elaborate detail. Andrew listened to everything, asked more questions and seemed in no hurry to leave. But eventually the afternoon wound down. They drove back to the apartment and Andrew walked them to the door. He knelt down in front of the twins. Thank you for letting me meet you today. This has been one of the best days of my life. Can you come back? Jada asked. If your mom says it's okay, I'd love to come back. Both kids looked at Tasha. She saw the hope in their eyes, the beginning of a connection she couldn't deny them even if she wanted to. He can come back, Tasha said. How about next Saturday? Andrew suggested. We could go to the zoo or a museum, whatever you want. The aquarium, Jordan said immediately. Can we go to the aquarium? The aquarium it is. After the twins went inside, Andrew and Tasha stood in the hallway together. He looked at her with such gratitude that it was almost painful to see. Thank you, he said. Thank you for giving me this chance. I know I don't deserve it after everything that happened, but I'm going to prove to you that I can be the father they deserve. I promise. Just don't break that promise, Tasha said quietly. Because they're already starting to care about you, and if you disappear now, it will hurt them worse than if they'd never met you at all. I won't disappear. I'm here, Tasha. I'm all in. Tasha wanted to believe him. And for the first time in 8 years she thought maybe she could. The week after Andrew's first visit passed in a strange blur. The twins talked about him constantly, asking when he was coming back, wondering what the aquarium would be like, already making plans for what they wanted to show him next. Tasha watched their excitement with mixed feelings. She was happy they were connecting with their father, but she was also terrified of how much they were already investing in this relationship. What if Andrew realized being a father was harder than he thought? What if his work pulled him back to New York and he couldn't maintain a presence in Portland? What if his family interfered again? There were so many ways this could go wrong, and Tasha had seen enough disappointment in her life to know that hope was dangerous. But when Saturday came and Andrew showed up at exactly 9 a.m. as promised, ready for their aquarium trip, Tasha felt her worries ease just a little. He was wearing jeans and a blue shirt, carrying a backpack full of snacks and water bottles, looking for all the world like a regular dad taking his kids on an outing. The aquarium was an hour's drive away. Andrew had offered to drive them in his rental car, something expensive and new that made Jordan's eyes go wide. But Tasha had insisted on taking her own car, maintaining some control over the situation. Andrew had agreed without argument, climbing into the passenger seat while the twins settled in the back. During the drive, Jada kept up a running commentary about everything she saw out the window. Jordan was quieter, but Tasha could see him watching Andrew in the rearview mirror, still assessing, still deciding if this man was trustworthy. Her son had always been the more cautious one, slower to open his heart. Tasha understood. She was the same way. The aquarium was magical. Andrew bought them all-access passes without blinking at the cost, and they spent hours wandering through the exhibits. Jordan was in heaven, pressing his face against the glass to watch the sharks and rays, asking the staff members questions about water temperature and feeding schedules. Jada loved the jellyfish, their graceful movements inspiring her to make up a dance right there in the dim blue light of the exhibit. Andrew took pictures of everything. Tasha noticed him texting the photos to someone and wondered who it was, but she didn't ask. That was his business. As long as he wasn't sending them to his mother, she didn't care. They had lunch at the aquarium cafe, and that's when things got more serious. Jordan, emboldened by several hours of good experiences, finally asked the question Tasha had been dreading. "Why didn't you know about us before?" Andrew put down his sandwich, giving Jordan his full attention. "That's a fair question, and you deserve an honest answer. The truth is, I made a mistake 8 years ago. I was so focused on my work that I stopped paying attention to the important things. Your mom tried to reach me when she found out she was pregnant, but I wasn't available. And my family, they made some choices that kept us apart." "What kind of choices?" Jordan pressed. Andrew glanced at Tasha, asking permission with his eyes. She nodded slightly. Jordan deserved to know the truth, or at least an age-appropriate version of it. "My mother didn't think your mom and I should be together. She thought your mom wanted my money instead of me. So she gave your mom money and asked her to leave. And your mom, who was pregnant and scared and alone, took that money because she needed to take care of you. That doesn't make her a bad person. It makes her a strong person who did what she had to do." Jordan processed this, his young face serious. "Was your mom mean to our mom?" "Yes," Andrew said simply. "She was. And I'm very sorry for that." "Are you mean like your mom?" Jordan asked, and the question was so direct that Tasha's breath caught. But Andrew didn't flinch. "I hope not. I'm trying really hard not to be. And if I ever am mean, I want you to tell me so I can do better." "Okay." Jordan nodded slowly. "Okay." Jada, who had been listening to this exchange with wide eyes, reached over and patted Andrew's hand. "I think you're nice." Andrew's eyes got misty. "Thank you, Jada. That means a lot to me." They finished lunch and continued exploring the aquarium, but the conversation had shifted something. The twins seemed more relaxed after that, like Andrew's honesty had earned him points in their ledger. Even Jordan smiled more freely, pointing out fish and reading exhibit plaques out loud. On the drive home, both kids fell asleep in the back seat, exhausted from the big day. Andrew and Tasha sat in silence for a while, the only sounds the hum of the engine and the soft breathing of their children. "Thank you for letting me be honest with them," Andrew said finally. "I know it might have been easier to let them think it was all just bad timing." "They'll find out the truth eventually," Tasha said. "Better they hear it from us in a way they can understand." "My mother was wrong about you," Andrew continued. "I've been thinking about that a lot this week. She thought you were after money, but if that were true, you would have demanded more. You would have come back with lawyers. Instead, you disappeared and raised our children alone, working a teacher's salary, never asking me for a single thing. That's not a gold digger, Tasha. That's someone I should have fought harder to keep." Tasha's hands tightened on the steering wheel. "You couldn't have fought for me if you didn't know I needed fighting for. You were unreachable." "I know. And I've regretted that every day for 8 years. Even before I knew about the twins, I regretted losing you. You were the best thing that ever happened to me, and I let work become more important. I let my family control my life. I was weak." "You were young," Tasha corrected. "We both were. Maybe. But I'm not young anymore. And I'm not going to make the same mistakes." They pulled up to Tasha's apartment building, and Andrew helped carry the sleeping children upstairs. Jordan woke up as Andrew laid him in bed, mumbling something about sharks before rolling over and going back to sleep. Jada didn't wake at all, just curled around her stuffed elephant and sighed. Tasha and Andrew stood in the doorway of the kids' room, watching them sleep. It felt strange and intimate, like something married couples did. Like a glimpse of a life they might have had if things had been different. "I need to tell you something," Andrew said quietly, and something in his tone made Tasha's stomach clench. Here it comes, she thought. The catch. The complication. The thing that ruins everything. They moved to the living room, and Andrew sat on the edge of her couch like he was afraid to get too comfortable. Tasha stayed standing, arms crossed, waiting. "I want to be part of their lives. Not just weekend visits. Not just special occasions. I want to be their father in every way that matters. And I know that's asking a lot after I've been absent for 8 years, but Tasha, I'm here now. I'm all in. I want to help support them. I want to set up college funds. I want to make sure you never have to struggle again. Please let me do this. Tasha stared at him. You want to give us money? I want to take care of my children. And you? I know you don't need rescuing, I know you've done fine on your own, but why should you have to do it alone when I have resources? Let me help. Please. Every instinct Tasha had told her to refuse. She'd been independent for so long, proud of what she'd built without Bennett money. But as she looked at Andrew's earnest face, she remembered what she'd told herself 8 years ago. Pride was a luxury she couldn't afford when her children's futures were at stake. What exactly are you offering? She asked carefully. First, child support. Whatever amount makes sense. I'll pay it gladly. Second, college funds for both kids, fully funded. Third, I'd like to help with your living situation. This apartment is fine, but it's small and the neighborhood isn't the safest. Let me help you find something better. And fourth, anything else they need. Medical care, activities, whatever. I want to provide for them the way I should have been doing all along. Tasha's mind raced. What he was offering would change everything. A bigger apartment, financial security, the twins' futures secured. But accepting would mean tying herself to Andrew in ways she hadn't been tied to anyone in years. It would mean trusting him. It would mean letting him in. I need to think about it, she said. Of course. Take all the time you need. I'm not trying to rush you or pressure you. I just want you to know that I'm serious about this. About them. About being the father I should have been from the start. After Andrew left, Tasha called Rochelle and explained everything. Her friend listened patiently, then said something that made Tasha pause. The question isn't whether you need his help. The question is whether your kids deserve it. And Tash, they do. They deserve to have a father who provides for them. They deserve college funds and opportunities and all the things his money can give them. This isn't about you and your pride. This is about what's best for Jordan and Jada. Rochelle was right. Tasha knew she was right. But it still felt like giving up something important when she called Andrew the next day and said yes to his help. Thank you, Andrew said, and his relief was clear even over the phone. Thank you for trusting me with this. I won't let you down. You better not, Tasha said. Because I'm taking a huge leap of faith here. I know. And I'm going to spend the rest of my life proving you made the right choice. Over the next few weeks, Andrew became a fixture in their lives. He came to Jordan's soccer games and Jada's dance classes. He took them to the park on Sundays and for ice cream on Wednesdays. He showed up when he said he would, every single time, proving his reliability with consistent action. He also followed through on his financial promises. Child support was set up through his lawyer. College funds were established. And he helped Tasha find a beautiful 3-bedroom house in a better neighborhood with a good school district. When Tasha hesitated at the cost, Andrew just said, "Let me do this. Please. They're my children too." So Tasha said yes. She let Andrew help them move into the new house. She let him buy new furniture for the twins' rooms. She let him provide in ways she never could have on her own. And slowly, grudgingly, she started to trust that he wasn't going anywhere. The twins thrived with Andrew in their lives. Jordan started calling him Dad without any prompting, the title coming naturally after weeks of consistent presence. Jada drew pictures of their family now that included all 4 of them, stick figures holding hands under a bright sun. And Tasha watched all of this happen with a heart that was healing in ways she hadn't expected. Andrew hadn't just come back for the children. He'd come back for her too, asking about her day, bringing her coffee when he picked up the kids, looking at her sometimes with such longing that it made her breath catch. But Tasha wasn't ready for that yet. The children were one thing. Romance was something else entirely. She'd been hurt too badly to rush into anything, no matter how much her heart might want to. Andrew seemed to understand. He didn't push. He just showed up, day after day, proving that he was worth trusting. And slowly, very slowly, Tasha started to believe him. Life settled into a new rhythm. The twins had been in their new house for a month, and the space felt like home already. Jordan's room was painted blue, decorated with posters of the ocean and a shelf for his growing collection of marine biology books. Jada's room was a rainbow of colors, her artwork covering every wall, her art supplies organized in the new desk Andrew had bought her. Tasha had her own room for the first time in years, a space that felt like hers alone. She'd decorated it simply, with soft green curtains and plants on the windowsill, a comfortable chair for reading in the evenings. The house even had a small backyard where the twins could play, something Tasha had never been able to give them in the apartment. Andrew came over 3 or 4 times a week, sometimes more. He'd arrived one Saturday with a bag full of groceries and announced he was making dinner. Tasha had watched him move around her kitchen like he belonged there, chopping vegetables and telling the twins stories about his own childhood. It had felt so natural, so easy, that Tasha had to remind herself this was still new, that they were still figuring things out. But then, on a Tuesday evening in late October, everything got more complicated. Tasha was grading papers at the kitchen table when her phone rang. The number wasn't one she recognized, but something made her answer anyway. "Hello? Is this Tasha Reynolds?" The voice was female, cultured, cold. Tasha's stomach dropped. She knew that voice. "This is Tasha. This is Catherine Bennett. I believe we need to talk." 8 years of fear and anger came flooding back. Tasha's hand tightened on the phone. "I have nothing to say to you. Please don't hang up. I know I have no right to ask you for anything, but I'm asking anyway. I need to see you. And I need to meet my grandchildren." "No. I deserve that response. I was cruel to you 8 years ago. I was wrong about you and I'm sorry. But those children are my sons, which makes them my family. Please, give me a chance to make things right." Tasha wanted to hang up. Every instinct told her to protect her children from this woman who had hurt her so badly. But something in Catherine's voice gave her pause. She sounded different. Older. Almost humble. "Why now?" Tasha asked. "Why do you suddenly care after 8 years of silence?" "Because Andrew showed me pictures. Because I've watched him transform into someone I barely recognize, someone softer and happier than I've ever seen him. And because I realized what my pride cost me. I missed 8 years with my grandchildren. I don't want to miss any more. Please, Tasha. I'm not asking you to forgive me. I'm just asking for a chance to do better." Tasha closed her eyes. This was a decision she couldn't make alone. "I need to talk to Andrew first. And to Jordan and Jada. They get a say in this." "Of course. Thank you for even considering it. I'll wait for your call." After they hung up, Tasha sat staring at her phone for a long time. Then she called Andrew. He arrived within 20 minutes, letting himself in with the key Tasha had given him the week before. She told him it was for emergencies, but really it was because having him around felt safe. Comfortable. "What's wrong?" he asked, reading the stress on her face immediately. "Your mother called." Andrew's expression went dark. "What did she say? Did she threaten you?" "Because if she did, She didn't threaten me. She apologized. She wants to meet Jordan and Jada." Andrew sat down heavily on the couch. "What did you tell her?" "That I needed to talk to you first. And to the kids. Andrew, I don't trust her. I can't forget what she did to me 8 years ago. But she's their grandmother. Don't they have a right to know her if she's genuinely trying to make amends?" Andrew was quiet for a long moment. When he finally spoke, his voice was careful. "My mother has changed in the last few years. My father's retirement forced her to confront a lot of things about her life. She's been softer. More reflective. She called me last week and asked about you and the twins. She actually cried on the phone." "Tasha. My mother never cries." "People can pretend," Tasha said. "They can. But I don't think she is. I think she genuinely regrets what she did. And I think she's scared that she destroyed her relationship with me by destroying my relationship with you. Which she did, honestly. I'm cordial to her, but we're not close anymore. This is her trying to fix that. By using my children. Maybe. Or maybe by genuinely wanting to know her grandchildren. I can't say for sure. But here's what I know. If you say no, I'll support that decision completely. The twins don't need her. You don't need her. If you want to keep her out of our lives, that's your right, and I won't question it." Tasha appreciated that Andrew wasn't pushing. But she also knew that families were complicated and cutting people off completely had consequences. "What do you think I should do?" "I think you should meet with her. Just you, without the kids. Let her apologize to your face. See if you believe her. Then decide. And whatever you decide, I'm with you." So Tasha agreed to have coffee with Catherine Bennett. They met at a neutral location, a cafe downtown where Tasha felt safe and in control. Catherine was already there when Tasha arrived, sitting at a corner table, looking older than Tasha remembered. Her hair was more gray than brown now, and there were lines around her mouth that spoke of worry and regret. Catherine stood when Tasha approached. "Thank you for coming. I know you didn't want to." "No, I didn't," Tasha said honestly, sitting down. "But I'm here. So say what you need to say." Catherine took a breath. 8 years ago, I made the worst mistake of my life. I looked at you and saw a threat instead of the woman my son loved. I convinced myself you were after his money, that you were trying to trap him, that removing you from his life was protecting him. And I was wrong about all of it. Yes, you were. I gave you money because I thought that's what you wanted. And when you took it and left, I thought I'd been proven right. But Andrew told me the truth. He told me you were pregnant, alone, and desperate. He told me you tried to reach him and couldn't. He told me I didn't give you a choice, I gave you an ultimatum. And I've been sick about it ever since. Tears were running down Catherine's face now. Real tears, not the polite crying of someone trying to manipulate. Tasha felt her own eyes sting. You hurt me, Tasha said quietly. You made me feel worthless. Like I wasn't good enough for your son, like my children weren't good enough for your family. Do you have any idea what that did to me? I can imagine. And I'm so sorry. I wish I could go back and do things differently. I wish I'd welcomed you into our family instead of driving you away. I wish I'd met my grandchildren when they were born. But I can't change the past. All I can do is ask you to give me a chance to be better now. Tasha studied Catherine's face, looking for lies or manipulation. But all she saw was genuine remorse. An older woman who'd realized too late that her pride had cost her everything that mattered. If I let you meet them, Tasha said slowly, you will treat them with love and respect. You will never make them feel less than. You will never speak badly about me to them. And if I see any sign that you're trying to turn them against me or take them from me, you will never see them again. Do you understand? I understand. And I promise you, Tasha, I won't do anything to hurt you or them. I just want a chance to be their grandmother. Tasha took a sip of her coffee, buying time to think. Everything in her wanted to say no, to protect her children from this woman who had caused so much pain. But she thought about what Rochelle had said weeks ago. Kindness and hope and love should always lead. And she thought about Jordan and Jada, who deserved to know all their family if that family was willing to love them. Okay, Tasha said finally. You can meet them. But Andrew will be there and we'll do it at my house where they feel safe. And Catherine? If you hurt them, I will never forgive you. I understand. Thank you, Tasha. Thank you for being bigger than I was. They set up the meeting for the following Saturday. Tasha told Jordan and Jada they had another family member who wanted to meet them, explaining carefully that this was their father's mother, and she hadn't known about them before but wanted to know them now. Is she nice? Jordan asked, always cautious. I hope so, Tasha said honestly. We're going to find out. When Saturday came, Catherine arrived with Andrew. She was dressed simply in a blue blouse and slacks, carrying a bag that Tasha assumed held gifts. But when the door opened, Catherine just stood there for a moment, looking at Jordan and Jada with wonder. They look like Andrew did at that age, she said softly. Exactly like him. The twins studied their grandmother with careful eyes. Then Jada, brave as always, walked forward and held out her hand. I'm Jada. Are you our grandma? Catherine knelt down, tears already streaming. Yes, sweetheart. I'm your grandma. And meeting you is the greatest gift I've ever received. Jordan stayed back watching. Catherine noticed and didn't push, just smiled at him gently. You must be Jordan. Your dad tells me you love science. I do, Jordan said cautiously. I used to love science too when I was young. Maybe we can talk about it sometime if you'd like. Maybe, Jordan said non-committal. The visit was awkward at first. Catherine clearly wanted to hug her grandchildren but held back, respecting their space. She asked them questions and listened to their answers. She admired Jada's artwork and Jordan's microscope with genuine interest. And when she pulled out the gifts she'd brought, she didn't make a big deal of them, just presented them quietly. For Jordan there was a book about deep-sea creatures signed by the author. For Jada, there was a professional art set even nicer than the one Andrew had given her, with paints and canvases and brushes made of real horsehair. These are amazing, Jordan said, already flipping through his book. Really amazing, Jada echoed, examining each paint tube like it was made of gold. I'm glad you like them, Catherine said. Your father helped me choose them. I want to get to know you both, to learn what you love and what you dream about. If you'll let me. The twins looked at each other, having one of their silent conversations. Then Jada said, you can come to my dance recital next month. If you want. Catherine's face lit up. I would be honored to come to your dance recital. And my soccer championship is in 3 weeks, Jordan added, warming up slightly. You could come to that too. I'll be there, Catherine promised. I won't miss it. After Catherine left, Andrew stayed behind. He helped Tasha put together dinner while the twins played in the living room with their new gifts. That went better than I expected, Tasha admitted. My mother surprised me too. She was gentle. I've never seen her like that with anyone except my father. Do you think she means it? All of it? I think she does. I think she's finally realized what matters. It took her long enough, but better late than never. They finished making dinner together, moving around each other in the kitchen like they'd been doing it for years instead of weeks. It felt easy. Natural. Right. During dinner, the twins talked about their grandmother, already making plans for what they'd show her next time. Tasha watched them and felt the tight knot of fear in her chest loosen just a little. Maybe this could work. Maybe Catherine really had changed. Maybe, just maybe, they could all move forward together. After the twins went to bed, Andrew lingered in the doorway like he was reluctant to leave. "Thank you for giving my mother a chance. I know that wasn't easy. Your kids deserve to know their family. All of it if that family is going to treat them right. They're your kids too," Andrew said softly. "You raised them. You made them who they are. I'm just lucky I get to be part of it now." He left before Tasha could respond, but his words stayed with her long after he was gone. For the first time in 8 years, Tasha felt like maybe they were building something real. Something that could last. Something that looked like family. Do you think Tasha made the right choice in giving Catherine a second chance? Could you have forgiven someone who hurt you so deeply? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to see how this family story continues to unfold. November brought colder weather and a shift in the family dynamic. Catherine Bennett became a regular presence in the twins' lives, showing up to every soccer game and dance recital like she'd promised. She was careful never to overstep, always deferring to Tasha about rules and schedules, always asking permission before making plans with the children. Tasha found herself surprised by how genuine Catherine's transformation seemed. The woman who had once looked at her with cold disdain now treated her with respect, even warmth. Catherine asked about Tasha's job, remembered details about her students, and sent thoughtful gifts that showed she was paying attention. It was strange and uncomfortable at first, but gradually Tasha began to let her guard down. The twins loved having a grandmother. Catherine taught Jada about her own mother, who had been an artist, and promised to show her old paintings stored in the family home. She brought Jordan books from Andrew's childhood and told him stories about the science fairs Andrew had won when he was young. She was building connections, creating history where there had been none before. Andrew watched all of this with something like relief. "I've got my family back," he told Tasha one evening after Catherine had left. "All of you. This is what I've wanted for 8 years and didn't even know it." But Tasha noticed Andrew wasn't just rebuilding his family. He was rebuilding something with her too. He found reasons to stay longer after dropping off the kids. He helped with household projects, fixing the leaky faucet and installing new locks on the doors. He brought coffee on mornings when he knew Tasha had early meetings. He remembered how she took her tea and which flowers were her favorites. He was courting her, Tasha realized. Slowly, patiently, without pressure. And she found herself responding to it despite her best intentions to keep things focused on the children. One Saturday in mid-November, Andrew asked if Tasha wanted to have dinner with him. Just the two of them while Catherine babysat the twins. "Is that a good idea?" Tasha asked, even though her heart was already saying yes. "I think it's a great idea. We've been so focused on the kids that we haven't had time to just be Andrew and Tasha. I'd like to change that. If you're ready." Tasha looked at him, really looked at him. The man standing in her kitchen wasn't the boy she'd fallen in love with 8 years ago. He was older, more mature, shaped by the same years that had shaped her. But when he smiled at her, she saw glimpses of who he'd been, mixed with who he'd become. "Okay," she said. "Let's have dinner." Catherine was delighted to babysit, arriving early with board games and art supplies. The twins were excited to spend time with their grandma, already dragging her toward their rooms to show her their latest projects. Andrew took Tasha to a small Italian restaurant downtown, the kind of place with candles on the tables and soft music playing in the background. It felt like a real date, which made Tasha nervous in a way she hadn't been in years. "You look beautiful," Andrew said when they were seated. Tasha had worn a green dress, simple but elegant, and taken extra time with her hair. "Thank you. You look good too." They ordered wine and pasta, and for the first few minutes, conversation was awkward. They'd spent so much time talking about the children that they'd almost forgotten how to talk about anything else. But then Andrew asked about her job, and Tasha found herself telling him about her students, the funny things they said, the challenges of teaching kindergarten in an underfunded school. Andrew listened like every word mattered. He asked questions and laughed at her stories and told her she was incredible for doing what she did. "I run a company that makes millions, but you're shaping young minds. I think you have the more important job." "They're both important," Tasha said. "Just different." "Tell me about your life," Andrew said. "The 8 years we were apart. What was it like? How did you manage?" So Tasha told him. About the early days when the twins were babies and she barely slept, when money was so tight she'd eaten ramen for weeks to afford formula. About going back to school online, studying after the twins were asleep, determined to make something better for all of them. About the first time Jordan called her mama, the first time Jada drew a picture of their family. About the loneliness and the fear and the moments of pure joy that made everything worthwhile. "I'm sorry I wasn't there," Andrew said, his voice thick with emotion. "I'm sorry you had to do all of that alone." "I'm sorry too," Tasha admitted. "But we made it through. And maybe we're stronger for it." "You're definitely stronger. You've always been stronger than me." They talked through dinner and dessert, and then Andrew walked her to her car. The November night was cold, stars visible above the city lights. Andrew took off his jacket and draped it over Tasha's shoulders, and the gesture was so sweet and old-fashioned that Tasha felt her heart squeeze. "I've missed you," Andrew said quietly. "For 8 years I missed you. I dated other people but nobody ever felt right because they weren't you. And now that you're back in my life I don't want to lose you again. I know we need to take things slow for the kids' sake, but Tasha, I need you to know that I'm still in love with you. I never stopped." Tasha's breath caught. She'd known this was coming, had felt it building for weeks, but hearing him say it out loud made it real. Made it something she had to respond to. "I don't know if I'm ready," she said honestly. "You hurt me, Andrew. Or your family did, which amounts to the same thing. And I've spent 8 years learning how to be okay on my own. I don't know if I can trust you with my heart again. I understand. And I'm not asking you to decide anything tonight. I just needed you to know how I feel. Take all the time you need. I'll wait." He drove her home, and when they pulled up to her house, he walked her to the door like a gentleman. Catherine was inside with the twins, visible through the window playing a board game. It looked like a normal family scene. It looked like something Tasha had dreamed about but never thought she'd have. "Thank you for tonight," Andrew said. "For giving me a chance to just be with you. Thank you for dinner. And for waiting. For being patient. Always," he promised. He left, and Tasha went inside to find her children happy and her mother-in-law. Could she call Catherine that? The older woman was smiling, genuinely pleased to have spent time with her grandchildren. "They're wonderful," Catherine said as she gathered her things. "You've done such an amazing job with them, Tasha. They're kind and smart and thoughtful. That's all you." "Thank you," Tasha said, surprised by how much the compliment meant coming from Catherine. "I know I have no right to give you advice," Catherine continued, "but I'm going to anyway. My son loves you. He always has. And I think you love him too, even if you're scared to admit it. Don't let what I did 8 years ago keep you from being happy now. You deserve happiness. You all do." After Catherine left, Tasha got the twins ready for bed. They were tired but happy, talking about the games they'd played with Grandma Catherine, already asking when she could visit again. "Do you like Grandma Catherine?" Tasha asked as she tucked them in. "She's nice," Jordan said. "She's teaching me chess. She promised to take me to an art museum," Jada added. "A real one with famous paintings. And what about your dad? Are you happy he's in your life now?" Both children nodded enthusiastically. "He's the best," Jada said. "I'm glad we finally got to meet him." "Me too," Jordan agreed. "Mom, are you and Dad going to get married?" The question caught Tasha off guard. "I don't know, baby. Why do you ask?" "Because he looks at you the way princes look at princesses in Jada's books. Like you're the most important person in the world. And you look at him the same way," Jada added wisely. "When you think nobody's watching." Tasha laughed despite herself. "When did you two get so smart?" "We've always been smart," Jordan said. "You tell us that all the time." After the twins were asleep, Tasha sat in her living room with a cup of tea, thinking about what Jordan had said. Did she look at Andrew like he was important? Was she falling in love with him again, or had she never really stopped? The truth was complicated. She'd spent 8 years convincing herself she was over Andrew Bennett, that he was just a memory, a chapter in her life that had closed. But having him back, seeing him with their children, watching him work so hard to prove he'd changed, it was breaking down all the walls she'd built. And maybe that was okay. Maybe it was time to stop protecting herself and start letting people in. Maybe kindness and hope and love really did need to lead. The next few weeks passed in a blur of family activities. Thanksgiving was coming, and Catherine invited them all to have dinner at her home in Connecticut. Tasha hesitated at first, worried about taking the twins so far from Portland, but Andrew promised it would be good. "My father wants to meet them," Andrew said. "And the house has plenty of room. We can make it a long weekend, show the kids where I grew up. Please, Tasha. Let's do this as a family." So Tasha agreed, and they flew to Connecticut the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. Andrew insisted on first-class tickets, and the twins were amazed by the comfortable seats and the flight attendants who brought them snacks and coloring books. The Bennett estate was even more impressive than Tasha remembered. The mansion sat on 20 acres of manicured grounds, with a circular driveway and columns at the entrance. Jordan and Jada pressed their faces to the car window, eyes wide. "Dad, you grew up here?" Jordan asked, awed. "I did. Pretty different from your house, huh?" "It's like a castle," Jada breathed. Catherine and Thomas Bennett were waiting at the entrance. Thomas was tall and distinguished, with silver hair and kind eyes. He greeted Tasha warmly, shaking her hand with both of his. "My dear, I'm so glad to finally meet you. I've heard wonderful things." "It's nice to meet you too, Mr. Bennett. Please call me Thomas. We're family now." He knelt down to greet the twins, and Tasha saw where Andrew had gotten his gentle nature from. Thomas asked them about their interests and listened to their answers with genuine attention. He promised Jordan a tour of his home library and told Jada about the art studio his late mother had kept, which still had supplies if she wanted to paint. The house was decorated for Thanksgiving with autumn leaves and pumpkins everywhere. Catherine had hired help to prepare the meal, but she insisted on showing Tasha around personally, pointing out where Andrew's childhood photos hung on the walls, where he'd played as a boy. "I want you to feel at home here," Catherine said. "This is your family's home too now. You're always welcome." That night, Tasha lay in the guest room Catherine had prepared for her, listening to the quiet of the big house. Down the hall, the twins were in their own rooms, probably too excited to sleep. Andrew was in his old bedroom just a few doors away. And somewhere in this enormous house, Catherine and Thomas were probably discussing how strange and wonderful it was to have their grandchildren under their roof. Tasha felt like she was living in a dream. 2 months ago, she'd been alone with her children, struggling to make ends meet, convinced they would never be part of the Bennett world. Now they were sleeping in the Bennett mansion, welcomed as family, embraced by people who had once driven her away. The next day was Thanksgiving, and it was the best holiday Tasha could remember. The meal was enormous, with turkey and stuffing and more side dishes than they could count. Thomas said grace, thanking God for family and second chances. Jordan and Jada were on their best behavior, using their manners and making their grandparents proud. After dinner they played games in the library. Catherine taught the twins how to play charades, and Thomas showed Jordan his coin collection. Andrew and Tasha ended up sitting together on the couch, watching their family interact, and it felt so normal and right that Tasha found herself leaning against Andrew's shoulder without thinking. He put his arm around her, and they stayed like that for a long time, not talking, just being together while their children laughed with their grandparents. "This is what I wanted," Andrew whispered. "This exact thing. Thank you for making it possible." "You made it possible," Tasha whispered back. "By showing up and not giving up." That night, after the twins were in bed, Andrew asked Tasha to take a walk with him. They bundled up in coats and scarves and walked through the grounds of the estate, their breath making clouds in the cold air. "I have something to tell you," Andrew said. "I've been thinking about it for a while, and I need to say it now before I lose my courage." Tasha's heart started racing. "What is it?" "I'm moving to Portland permanently. I've already talked to the board and they're fine with me running the company remotely. I'll have to travel sometimes, but my home base will be Portland. Near you and the kids." "Andrew, that's a huge decision." "Are you sure?" "I've never been more sure of anything. My life is with you and Jordan and Jada. New York is just a city. You're my home." Tasha stopped walking and turned to face him. In the moonlight she could see how serious he was, how much he meant every word. "I'm falling in love with you again," Tasha admitted. "Or maybe I never stopped. I don't know anymore. But I'm scared, Andrew. I'm scared of getting hurt again." "I know. And I can't promise that everything will be perfect. But I can promise that I'll never leave you the way I did before. I can promise that you and the children will always come first. And I can promise that I'll spend the rest of my life proving you can trust me. If you'll let me." Tasha looked up at the stars, thinking about everything that had brought them to this moment. The pain and the loneliness and the years apart. But also the hope and the second chances and the family they were building together. "Okay," she said. "Let's try this. Let's really try." Andrew's face broke into the biggest smile she'd ever seen. He picked her up and spun her around, both of them laughing like teenagers. When he set her down, he cupped her face in his hands. "Can I kiss you?" he asked. "Yes," Tasha said. And he did, soft and sweet and full of promise. It felt like coming home. It felt like the beginning of something beautiful. December brought snow to Portland, transforming the city into something magical. The twins had never seen so much snow before, and they spent every free moment outside, building snowmen and having snowball fights. Andrew was there for all of it, showing them how to make snow angels and helping them build an impressive snow fort in the backyard. Tasha watched from the window, a mug of hot chocolate in her hands, her heart full. This was what family looked like. This was what she dreamed about during all those lonely years. Andrew had kept his promise about moving to Portland. He'd rented an apartment nearby while he looked for a permanent place, though he spent most of his time at Tasha's house anyway. He was there for breakfast most mornings, helping get the twins ready for school. He was there for dinner most evenings, cooking or ordering takeout and cleaning up afterward. He'd become woven into the fabric of their daily life so thoroughly that Tasha couldn't imagine it without him anymore. They were dating officially now, though they were careful to keep physical affection limited when the twins were around. But when Jordan and Jada were at school or asleep, Andrew and Tasha made up for lost time. They talked for hours about everything and nothing. They watched movies curled up on the couch. They went on dates, real dates, where they dressed up and held hands and remembered what it felt like to be young and in love. Because they were in love. Tasha couldn't deny it anymore. She loved Andrew Bennett, had probably never stopped loving him, and now that she'd admitted it to herself, everything felt lighter. Easier. Like she could finally breathe properly after holding her breath for 8 years. The twins were thriving with both parents actively present. Jordan's grades were excellent, and his teacher reported that he was more confident in class, more willing to speak up and share his ideas. Jada's artwork was flourishing, and she'd been selected to have one of her paintings displayed at a local gallery's youth exhibition. "They're happy," Rochelle observed one day when Tasha met her for coffee. "Like, genuinely happy. You did good, Tash." "We all did good," Tasha corrected. "Andrew stepped up in a way I didn't think was possible. And his parents have been amazing. Catherine especially. She's really trying." "And what about you and Andrew? How's that going?" Tasha couldn't help the smile that spread across her face. "It's good. Really good. I keep waiting for something to go wrong, but it hasn't yet. Maybe nothing will go wrong. Maybe this is just your happy ending." "I hope so. I really hope so." That weekend, Andrew took the whole family ice skating at the outdoor rink downtown. Jordan was cautious at first, clinging to the wall, but Andrew skated beside him patiently, holding his hand until Jordan got brave enough to try on his own. Jada was fearless as always, zooming around the rink and only falling once before getting right back up. After skating, they got hot chocolate and sat by the fire pit, warming their hands and watching other families enjoy the winter evening. Jordan leaned against Andrew's side and Jada sat in Tasha's lap, and they looked like what they were, a family. "Dad," Jordan said suddenly, the title coming naturally now, "are you going to marry Mom?" Tasha nearly spit out her hot chocolate. Andrew just smiled, not looking surprised by the question at all. "I'd like to," Andrew said honestly. "If your mom says yes when I ask her. What do you think about that?" "I think it's good," Jordan said seriously. "Then we'd be a real family." "We're already a real family," Andrew told him. "Marriage would just make it official." "When are you going to ask her?" Jada wanted to know. "When the time is right. These things take planning." Both kids accepted this answer, going back to their hot chocolate, but Tasha's heart was pounding. Andrew was planning to propose. He'd basically just told her so in front of the children. And the scary part was that she wanted him to. She wanted to say yes. She wanted to make this official and permanent and real. Later that night, after the twins were in bed, Andrew stayed to help Tasha clean up. They worked in comfortable silence, moving around each other in the kitchen like they'd been doing it forever. When the dishes were done, Andrew pulled Tasha close, wrapping his arms around her waist. "I meant what I said earlier. About wanting to marry you." "I know," Tasha said, her hands resting on his chest. "I want that too. When the time is right." "How will we know when the time is right?" "I don't know. I guess we'll just feel it." Andrew kissed her forehead, then her nose, then her lips. "I love you, Tasha Reynolds. I love you so much it scares me sometimes." "I love you too, Andrew Bennett. And that scares me too. But I think the best things in life are a little scary." They stood there in the kitchen holding each other, building dreams for the future. Outside, snow continued to fall, covering the world in white, making everything clean and new. Christmas was approaching fast, and Andrew insisted on taking the family to New York to spend it with his parents. Tasha was nervous about going back to the city where everything had fallen apart 8 years ago, but Andrew assured her it would be different this time. "You're not alone anymore," he reminded her. "You have me. You have my family. And my mother has planned an entire week of activities because she's excited to show off her grandchildren to all her friends." So they went to New York, flying out the week before Christmas. Catherine and Thomas had decorated their home like something from a magazine, with a massive tree in the entryway and garlands everywhere. They'd also prepared rooms for everyone, including a surprise for the twins. We thought, since you'll be visiting more often, you should have rooms that feel like yours, Catherine explained, showing Jordan and Jada to adjoining bedrooms that had been decorated specifically for them. Jordan's had ocean-themed wallpaper and a telescope by the window. Jada's had an art table with professional supplies and walls painted in soft rainbow stripes. These are ours. Jada asked, awed. We can come here whenever we want? Whenever you want, Thomas confirmed. This is your home too. The week in New York was full of holiday magic. They went to see the Rockefeller Center tree and watched the skaters at the rink. They saw a Broadway show, a kid-friendly musical that had Jordan and Jada on the edge of their seats. They went shopping at famous stores and ate at restaurants Tasha had only read about in magazines. Catherine threw a Christmas party and introduced Tasha to all her friends as my son's partner and the mother of my grandchildren, with pride in her voice. People who remembered the gossip from 8 years ago looked surprised, but Catherine shut down any negative comments before they could start. Tasha is family, she said firmly. And if anyone has a problem with that, they can leave. Nobody left. Instead, people welcomed Tasha warmly, asking about her job and her children, treating her like she belonged. It was surreal and wonderful and exactly what Tasha had needed without knowing she needed it. On Christmas Eve, Catherine took Tasha aside for a private conversation. They sat in the library, the same room where Catherine had probably made the decision to drive Tasha away 8 years ago. The irony wasn't lost on either of them. I want to give you something, Catherine said, pulling out a small velvet box. Inside was a stunning diamond necklace, clearly very old and very valuable. This was my mother's. She gave it to me when I married Thomas, and I've been saving it to give to Andrew's wife. I know he hasn't proposed yet, but I'm giving this to you now because I want you to know something. You are my daughter. Not by law yet, but in my heart. You've given me more than I deserve by letting me be part of your children's lives. This is my way of saying thank you and welcome to the family. Tasha's eyes filled with tears. She took the necklace carefully, feeling the weight of it, the history it carried. Catherine, I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything. Just wear it and know that you belong here. You've always belonged here. I was just too stubborn to see it before. They hugged then, really hugged, and Tasha felt years of hurt and anger finally release. Catherine wasn't perfect, but she was trying. And trying was enough. Christmas morning was pure joy. The twins woke up early and ran downstairs to find the tree surrounded by presents. Andrew and Tasha followed more slowly, laughing at their children's excitement. Catherine and Thomas joined them in pajamas and they all opened gifts together, drinking hot cider and eating cinnamon rolls. Jordan got the junior microscope he'd been wanting and a whole set of marine biology books. Jada got professional art supplies and a gift certificate for art classes at a prestigious studio. Tasha received thoughtful gifts from everyone, including a beautiful coat from Catherine and a first edition of her favorite book from Thomas. But the best gift was watching her children with their grandparents, seeing the love flow between them so naturally. This was family. This was what she'd wanted to give Jordan and Jada from the beginning. And now they had it. After Christmas dinner, Andrew suggested a walk in Central Park. It was cold but clear, the park peaceful in the evening light. Tasha bundled up and agreed, leaving the twins with their grandparents. They walked hand in hand through the park, talking about the day, about how happy the twins seemed, about their plans for the new year. Then Andrew led Tasha to Bow Bridge, one of the most beautiful spots in the park, and stopped. I need to tell you something, he said. Okay, Tasha said, her heart starting to beat faster. When I saw you at that school 2 months ago, my whole world changed. I'd been existing, not living, for 8 years. Working constantly, trying to fill a void that nothing could fill because you were gone. And then suddenly, there you were, with 2 children who looked like me, and I realized what I'd been missing. What my mother had taken from me. What I'd failed to fight for. Andrew? Let me finish. These last 2 months have been the best of my life. Watching you with Jordan and Jada, seeing what an incredible mother you are, falling in love with you all over again. You're the strongest person I know, Tasha. You've given me everything. A family. A purpose. A reason to be better than I was. Andrew knelt down on one knee and Tasha's breath caught. He pulled out a small box, opening it to reveal a stunning ring that caught the light and sparkled like stars. Tasha Reynolds, I love you with everything I am. I want to spend the rest of my life proving that to you. I want to wake up next to you every morning and fall asleep beside you every night. I want to raise our children together and grow old together and build a life that's even better than anything we've dreamed. Will you marry me? Tasha looked at Andrew, really looked at him. At the hope in his eyes, the love on his face, the promise he was making. She thought about everything they'd been through, all the pain and separation and difficult choices. She thought about her children who deserved a father like Andrew. She thought about herself and what she wanted, what she'd always wanted. "Yes," she said, her voice strong and clear. "Yes, Andrew, I'll marry you." He slipped the ring on her finger and stood, pulling her into a kiss that felt like forever. Around them, a few people who'd been watching applauded. Tasha laughed against Andrew's lips, happier than she'd ever been. They were going to be a family. Officially, legally, forever. And this time, nothing would tear them apart. The news of their engagement spread quickly. When they returned to the Bennett mansion, Catherine and Thomas were waiting with champagne already chilled. The twins were bouncing with excitement, having apparently been told what Andrew was planning. "We're going to be a real family now," Jada kept saying, hugging everyone within reach. "We were already a real family," Jordan corrected, but he was grinning too, clearly pleased. Catherine made a toast to the happy couple, her voice emotional. "To Andrew and Tasha. May your love continue to grow, and may your family always be blessed with happiness and health." They celebrated late into the night, making plans and dreaming about the future. Andrew wanted to get married soon, but Tasha wanted time to plan something meaningful. They compromised on a spring wedding, giving them about 4 months to prepare. When they returned to Portland after New Year's, reality settled in. They had a wedding to plan, but more importantly, they had daily life to navigate. Andrew officially moved into Tasha's house, not wanting to waste time living separately when they were getting married anyway. The twins were thrilled to have their father around full-time, and Tasha adjusted to sharing her space with someone after years of living alone. It wasn't always perfect. Andrew left his shoes in the middle of the floor, and Tasha was particular about how the dishwasher was loaded. They had their first real fight about disciplining the twins when Jordan got in trouble at school for talking back to his teacher. Andrew thought Jordan should be grounded for a week, while Tasha wanted to understand why he'd done it first. But they worked through it, learning how to communicate and compromise. That's what relationships were, choosing each other every day even when it wasn't easy. Especially when it wasn't easy. In January, they started premarital counseling at the suggestion of Catherine, who'd learned from her own mistakes how important communication was in a marriage. The counselor, Dr. Martinez, was kind and wise, asking them questions about their expectations and their fears. "What are you most worried about?" Dr. Martinez asked Tasha during one session. "That he'll leave again," Tasha admitted. "I know that's not fair because last time wasn't his fault. But the fear is still there. What if something happens and he decides being a family man is too hard? What if he chooses work over us?" Andrew reached for her hand. "I won't. I promise you I won't. Work is important, but you and the kids are more important. Always." "How can you be sure?" Tasha asked. "Because I already lost you once and I spent 8 years miserable. I'm not doing that again. I'm not choosing anything over you. Not work, not money, not my ego. Nothing." Dr. Martinez had them write down their priorities and share them with each other. Andrew's list started with Tasha, Jordan, and Jada, and then listed everything else. Tasha's list was similar: her children, Andrew, her students, her friends. They realized they were aligned in what mattered, which made everything else feel manageable. They also talked about how to blend their lives practically. Andrew had significantly more money than Tasha, which created some tension. He wanted to pay for everything, but Tasha was used to contributing and felt uncomfortable being dependent. "It's not about you being dependent," Andrew tried to explain. "It's about me taking care of my family. But I've been taking care of them for 8 years. I don't want to lose that role." They compromised again. Tasha would keep working because she loved teaching, but Andrew would handle the big expenses like the mortgage and cars and college funds. Tasha would contribute to groceries and household items and her own personal expenses. It wasn't perfect, but it felt fair to both of them. Rochelle helped Tasha plan the wedding, which was going to be held at a beautiful garden venue in Portland. It wouldn't be huge, just close friends and family, but it would be meaningful. Tasha chose a simple white dress with green accents. Jordan and Jada would be the ring bearer and flower girl, and Andrew had asked his father to be his best man. Catherine was helping too in her own way. She'd connected Tasha with the best vendors and offered to pay for the catering, which was one less thing for Tasha to worry about. The two women had developed an unexpected friendship, bonding over their love for the twins and their shared determination to make this family work. "You've made my son happier than I've ever seen him," Catherine told Tasha one day when they were meeting with the florist. "And you've given me 2 incredible grandchildren. I'll never stop being grateful for that." "You've changed too," Tasha replied. "The Catherine I met 8 years ago would never have said something like that. The Catherine you met 8 years ago was a fool. I hope I'm wiser now." In February, Jordan had a science fair at school, and his project on ocean currents won first place. Andrew and Tasha were both there to see him receive his ribbon, standing together and cheering so loudly that Jordan blushed with pride. That night, they celebrated with ice cream, and Jordan announced that he'd decided for sure. He was going to be a marine biologist. "That's a great choice," Andrew said. "We can start visiting different colleges, see which ones have the best marine biology programs." "Dad, I'm only 8. Never too early to plan. Your mom raised a smart kid. I want to make sure you have every opportunity." Jada's art show was in March, and her painting of their family was displayed prominently. She'd painted all of them holding hands in front of their house, with the sun shining and flowers everywhere. It was colorful and joyful and perfectly captured how she saw their life. "You're very talented," an art teacher told Jada. "Have you thought about attending a special art school?" Andrew immediately started researching art programs for young students. Tasha had to remind him not to overwhelm their daughter with plans and pressure. "She's 8. Let her just enjoy drawing for now." But Andrew's enthusiasm was endearing. He wanted to give his children everything, every opportunity, every advantage. Tasha had to help him understand that sometimes the best thing they could give the twins was just their presence and attention, not expensive programs and grand plans. As the wedding approached, Tasha found herself surprisingly calm. She'd been through so much in her life that getting married felt like the easy part. The hard work had been rebuilding trust, learning to be a couple again, figuring out how to blend their lives. The wedding was just a celebration of what they'd already accomplished. Her dress hung in her closet, beautiful and simple. Jordan had his little suit ready, and Jada had practiced walking slowly while carrying her flower basket at least 100 times. Everything was prepared. All that was left was to actually do it, to stand in front of their family and friends and promise forever. The night before the wedding, Andrew stayed at his parents' hotel per tradition. The twins were restless, excited about the next day, and Tasha let them stay up a little late, the three of them sitting together on the couch. "Are you nervous?" Jordan asked. "A little," Tasha admitted. "But mostly I'm excited. Tomorrow we become official." "We're already official," Jordan pointed out, the practical one as always. "I know. But tomorrow makes it permanent. Tomorrow Andrew becomes my husband and your official dad. That's pretty special. Do we have to call him something different?" Jada wanted to know. "No, honey. He's already your dad. Nothing changes except the paperwork." But everything had already changed, Tasha thought as she tucked her children into bed. 8 months ago they'd been alone, just the three of them against the world. Now they had Andrew and Catherine and Thomas. They had family dinners and grandparent visits and someone to share the load. They had love and support and a future that looked bright and full of possibility. Tasha went to bed early trying to sleep, but her mind was too active. She thought about the girl she'd been 8 years ago, pregnant and scared, taking money from Andrew's mother because she had no other choice. That girl would never have believed this happy ending was possible. That girl would have been amazed to know that one day she'd be marrying Andrew Bennett in a beautiful garden, surrounded by people who loved them. But life was full of surprises. Sometimes terrible ones, but sometimes wonderful ones too. And Tasha had learned that you had to stay open to the wonderful ones, even when the terrible ones had hurt you. You had to keep hoping, keep believing that things could get better. Because they had gotten better. So much better than she'd ever imagined. The next morning dawned clear and beautiful, a perfect spring day. Rochelle arrived early to help Tasha get ready, bringing flowers and good energy. Catherine came too, offering to help however she could. The three women worked together to transform Tasha into a bride, styling her hair and helping with her makeup and zipping up the beautiful dress. "You look stunning," Catherine said, tears in her eyes. "My son is a lucky man." "I'm pretty lucky too," Tasha replied. The garden venue was decorated with white flowers and green ribbons, simple and elegant. Chairs were set up in rows, with an arch at the front where the ceremony would take place. It was small and intimate, exactly what Tasha had wanted. Andrew was already there, standing at the front with his father beside him. He looked nervous and excited, checking his watch every few minutes. Jordan stood next to Thomas, looking so grown up in his suit. When Andrew saw Tasha walking down the aisle, his face lit up with pure joy, and Tasha felt her own face mirror his expression. Jada walked ahead of her mother, carefully dropping rose petals, concentrating hard on her important job. Then it was Tasha's turn. She walked alone because she'd been alone for so long and wanted to honor that. She walked toward Andrew, toward her future, toward the life they were going to build together. When she reached the front, Andrew took her hands in his. "You're beautiful," he whispered. "So are you," she whispered back. The ceremony was simple and heartfelt. They exchanged vows they'd written themselves, promising to love each other through good times and bad, to raise their children with kindness and wisdom, to build a home filled with laughter and hope. They promised to communicate and compromise, to never go to bed angry, to choose each other every single day. When the officiant pronounced them husband and wife, Andrew kissed Tasha like they were the only two people in the world. The small crowd cheered, and Jordan and Jada ran up to hug their parents, all four of them wrapped in a family embrace. The reception was joyful. They had dinner under string lights as the sun set, and Catherine gave a toast that made everyone cry. 8 years ago, I made the worst mistake of my life by driving Tasha away. But somehow, by grace and love and Tasha's generous heart, I've been given a second chance. We all have. Andrew has his family. I have my grandchildren. And Tasha has finally gotten the love and support she always deserved. To second chances and to the family we've all become. Everyone raised their glasses and Tasha felt overwhelmed with gratitude. This was what forgiveness looked like. This was what happened when people chose love over pride. Andrew and Tasha had their first dance as a married couple, swaying together under the stars. Then Andrew danced with Jada, and Tasha danced with Jordan, and there wasn't a dry eye in the place. As the evening wound down, Tasha stood with Andrew watching their children play with other kids, running around the garden in their fancy clothes, happy and carefree. "We did it," Andrew said, pulling her close. "We did," Tasha agreed. "We actually did it. I love you, Mrs. Bennett. I love you too, Mr. Bennett." And as they stood there, beginning their forever, Tasha knew with absolute certainty that every hard moment, every tear, every lonely night had been worth it to get to this perfect day. Being married felt both different and the same. Different because now there were legal ties and shared bank accounts and joint decisions about everything. Same because Andrew had already been part of their daily life for months, already felt like family in all the ways that mattered. But there was something special about knowing it was official. About wearing rings that told the world they belonged to each other. About signing documents as Tasha Bennett instead of Tasha Reynolds. About the twins introducing Andrew as "our dad," with absolute certainty instead of a question in their voices. They settled into a comfortable routine. Andrew had found the perfect work-life balance, running Bennett Industries from their home office in Portland and only traveling to New York once or twice a month. When he did travel, it was never for more than a few days, and he called home every night to say goodnight to the twins. Tasha continued teaching, loving her job and the impact she could have on young minds. Andrew sometimes came to her classroom to talk about business for career day, and her students were always impressed when they learned that Jordan and Jada's dad was a CEO. Catherine and Thomas visited once a month, staying at a hotel but spending every day with the family. They took the twins to museums and parks, taught them chess and piano, and spoiled them in the way grandparents were supposed to. But they also respected boundaries, never contradicting Tasha's parenting decisions, always checking before making plans. In May, about a month after the wedding, Andrew surprised Tasha with a vacation. He'd rented a beach house in California for a week, just the four of them, no work and no distractions. "We never had a honeymoon," he explained. "And I thought it would be nice to get away as a family." The beach house was beautiful, right on the ocean with big windows and a deck where they could watch the sunset. Jordan was in heaven, spending hours examining tide pools and collecting shells. Jada drew pictures of the waves and built sandcastles that were more like sand sculptures, elaborate and creative. Andrew and Tasha spent the week relaxing in a way they hadn't in months. They read books and took long walks and let the twins stay up late because vacation had different rules. They talked about their future, about maybe having more children someday, about growing old together and watching Jordan and Jada become adults. "Do you think they'll remember this?" Tasha asked one evening as they sat on the deck, watching the twins play in the sand below. "I hope so. I want them to have a childhood full of good memories. The kind I didn't have." "Your childhood wasn't all bad," Tasha protested. "It wasn't bad. But it was lonely. My parents were always working and I spent most of my time with nannies and tutors. I don't want that for Jordan and Jada. I want them to know their parents are present and available and that they matter more than any business deal or social event." "You're a good father," Tasha said, squeezing his hand. "The kind of father every kid deserves. I learned from watching you. You showed me what it means to put your children first, to sacrifice for them, to love them with everything you have. I'm just trying to live up to your example." On their last night at the beach, they had a bonfire on the sand. Jordan and Jada roasted marshmallows and told ghost stories, and Andrew taught them how to find constellations in the stars above. It was perfect and simple and exactly what family should be. When they returned to Portland, life picked up its normal pace again. Jordan finished 3rd grade with excellent grades and was already excited about 4th grade. Jada's dance recital was a success, and her teacher suggested she try ballet, which Jada agreed to enthusiastically. In June, Catherine called with an unexpected request. Thomas and I would like to take the twins for a week this summer. Give you and Andrew some time alone. We'll take them to Martha's Vineyard, let them experience the beach house there. Tasha's first instinct was to say no. A whole week without her children felt wrong, too long. But Andrew encouraged her to consider it. They're 8 years old. They're old enough for a trip with their grandparents. And honestly, when was the last time you had a week to yourself? Or even a day? You had a point. Tasha had been a mother for 8 years without a break, without anyone to share the load. Maybe it would be good to have some time just for herself and Andrew. So she agreed, though saying goodbye to the twins at the airport was harder than she expected. Jordan and Jada were excited about the trip, not nervous at all, which made Tasha feel better even as it made her a little sad. They didn't need her as desperately as they once had. They were growing up. They'll be fine, Andrew assured her as they drove home from the airport. My mother will take excellent care of them. I know. It's just strange to be without them. So let's make the most of it. What do you want to do that we can't do with kids around? They ended up having an amazing week. They went to nice restaurants that didn't have kids' menus. They saw movies that weren't animated. They slept in late and took afternoon naps and had conversations that weren't interrupted by requests for snacks or referee duties for sibling arguments. But they also talked every day to the twins, who were having a wonderful time with Catherine and Thomas. Jordan had gone sailing and seen whales. Jada had painted a seascape and learned how to make sandcastles that wouldn't wash away. They were happy and safe and having adventures. This is good for them, Tasha realized. Learning that they can be okay without us. Building relationships with their grandparents. And it's good for us too, Andrew added. Remember what it feels like to just be a couple, not just parents. When the twins came home, tanned and full of stories, Tasha hugged them so tight they complained. But she was also glad they'd gone, glad they had grandparents who loved them enough to create special memories, glad that her family had grown so large and supportive. In August, they celebrated the twins' 9th birthday with a big party at their house. Friends from school came and Rochelle's kids and even some of Tasha's co-workers. Catherine and Thomas flew in for the occasion, bringing ridiculously expensive gifts that Andrew had to talk them down from. They're kids, Andrew reminded his mother. They don't need a pony. I was just thinking ahead, Catherine protested, but she settled for more reasonable gifts. A new microscope for Jordan and an art easel for Jada. The party was chaotic and joyful, with games in the backyard and cake that got everywhere. Tasha stood in her kitchen looking out at the scene through the window, and felt a sense of peace she'd never experienced before. This was her life. This was her family. And it was everything she'd ever wanted. Andrew came up behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist. Happy. So happy I don't have words for it. Good. Because I want to talk to you about something. Tasha turned to face him, suddenly nervous. What is it? I've been thinking about what we talked about on vacation. About having more children. And I wondered if you'd given it any more thought. Tasha had been thinking about it, actually. A lot. Jordan and Jada were getting older, more independent. And part of her missed having a baby, missed those sweet early days even though they'd been exhausting. I think I'd like that, she said carefully. But I want to make sure we're doing it for the right reasons. Not to replace anything or prove anything, but because we genuinely want another child. I genuinely want another child, Andrew said. A child we plan for together, that we both get to experience from the very beginning. I miss so much with Jordan and Jada. I'd like a chance to do it all. The pregnancy appointments, the midnight feedings, the first steps. Everything. It's not all beautiful, Tasha warned. It's hard and exhausting and sometimes frustrating. I know. But I want to do it anyway. With you. They decided to try for another baby, but without pressure or timelines. If it happened, wonderful. If it didn't, they already had 2 amazing children and a beautiful life together. In September, Jordan and Jada started 4th grade at a new school, one in a better district that Andrew's money had made possible. They were nervous about making new friends but both adapted quickly. Jordan joined the science club and Jada signed up for art class as an elective. At a parent-teacher conference in October, both teachers raved about the twins. Jordan was one of the top students in his class, and Jada's creativity was remarkable. You should be very proud, Jordan's teacher said. We are, Tasha replied, and she meant it. Despite everything, despite the hard years and the absence of their father, Jordan and Jada had turned out wonderfully. Kind, smart, creative, well-adjusted kids who were loved by everyone who met them. As the holidays approached, Catherine invited them to spend Thanksgiving and Christmas in Connecticut again. This time, Tasha didn't hesitate to say yes. The Bennett estate felt like a second home now, and the twins loved spending time there with their grandparents. On Thanksgiving Day, as they all sat around the table, Thomas asked everyone to share something they were grateful for. Jordan was thankful for his family and his new school. Jada was thankful for art and dance and her stuffed elephant she'd had since she was a baby. Catherine and Thomas were grateful for their grandchildren and second chances. When it was Andrew's turn, he looked at Tasha with so much love that it made her chest ache. I'm grateful for my wife, who is the strongest person I know. And I'm grateful for my children, who teach me every day what really matters. And I'm grateful for this family, for all of us being here together. 8 years ago, I didn't know any of you existed and my life was empty. Now it's full. That's everything. Tasha's turn came last. I'm grateful for forgiveness and second chances. I'm grateful that love won. I'm grateful that my children have the family they always deserved. And I'm grateful for every person at this table, because you've all made my life richer and fuller than I ever thought possible. They held hands around the table, a circle of love and gratitude, a family built not just by blood but by choice and commitment and the determination to do better. That night, after the twins were asleep in their rooms at the mansion, Andrew and Tasha stood on the balcony of their guest suite, looking out at the grounds covered in early snow. Do you ever think about that night 8 years ago? Andrew asked. When my mother sent you away? Sometimes. But not with anger anymore. Just with sadness for what we lost. But also gratitude for what we found? Yes, that too. We wouldn't be who we are now if we hadn't gone through all of that. It doesn't make it right, but maybe it makes it meaningful. Andrew pulled her close. I love you more every day. Is that possible? It must be, because I feel the same way about you. They stood there in the cold, wrapped in each other's warmth, grateful for every moment that had led them to this one. The hard moments and the beautiful ones, the tears and the laughter, the separation and the reunion. All of it had been necessary to bring them here, to this place of peace and love and family. And as snow began to fall, covering the world in white, Tasha thought about how life was full of endings and beginnings, heartbreaks and happy endings. She thought about the girl she'd been, walking away from this mansion 8 years ago with nothing but a check and a broken heart. She thought about that girl's strength and courage, her determination to give her babies a good life even when it seemed impossible. That girl would be proud of the woman Tasha had become. That girl would be amazed by the family she'd built, the love she'd found, the happiness that filled every corner of her life. Thank you, Tasha whispered to Andrew. For what? For coming back. For not giving up. For being the man I always believed you could be. Thank you for giving me the chance. For letting me be their father. For marrying me even though I didn't deserve it. You deserved it. We all deserved this happy ending. And as they stood there, holding each other while snow fell around them, Tasha knew with absolute certainty that sometimes, if you were very lucky and very brave, broken things could be mended. Love could be found again. Families could be built from pieces that seemed too shattered to repair. Sometimes the story didn't end with walking away in the rain. Sometimes it ended with coming home. Spring arrived again, bringing with it flowers and warm breezes and a sense of renewal. A year had passed since Andrew had shown up at Riverside Elementary and seen his children for the first time. 1 year since everything had changed. Tasha stood in the backyard of their home, watching Jordan and Jada play with the puppy Andrew had surprised them with last month. A golden retriever they'd named Sunny because of her bright personality. The twins had begged for a dog for months, and Andrew had finally given in, unable to deny them anything that brought joy to their faces. Life had settled into a beautiful rhythm. The twins were thriving in 4th grade, both excelling in their favorite subjects and making friends easily. Jordan had joined the swim team and was showing real talent. Jada had been accepted into a prestigious weekend art program for young students. They were growing up, becoming their own people, but they were doing it with the security of knowing they were loved by both their parents. Tasha's hand moved to her stomach, to the small bump that was just starting to show. She was 3 months pregnant, expecting a baby in September. When she told Andrew, he'd cried with joy, spinning her around the kitchen and then immediately apologizing because he was worried about hurting the baby. It had been sweet and silly and perfect. They hadn't told the twins yet, waiting until the 2nd trimester when things were more stable. But they were planning to tell them this weekend, at a family dinner with Catherine and Thomas, who were visiting from Connecticut. The doorbell rang and Tasha went to answer it. Catherine and Thomas stood on the porch, arms full of bags and wearing huge smiles. "We brought lunch," Catherine announced, holding up several containers from the twins' favorite restaurant. "And presents, even though it's not anyone's birthday." "You spoil them," Tasha said, but she was smiling. "That's what grandparents do," Thomas replied, kissing Tasha's cheek as he came inside. The twins heard their grandparents arrive and came running in from the backyard, Sunny barking excitedly at their heels. There were hugs and greetings, and then everyone settled around the dining table while Andrew helped Tasha set out the food. "We have something to tell you," Andrew said once everyone was seated. He reached for Tasha's hand, giving her an encouraging nod. "Actually, your mom and I have some news." "Good news or bad news?" Jordan asked, always practical. "Very good news," Tasha assured him. "In September, you're going to have a baby brother or sister." There was a moment of stunned silence. Then Jada's face lit up with pure delight. "Really? We're getting a baby?" "Really," Andrew confirmed. "Can I help take care of it?" Jada asked eagerly. "I'm really good with babies. My friend Rachel has a baby brother, and she lets me hold him sometimes." "You can definitely help," Tasha said, touched by Jada's enthusiasm. Jordan was quieter, processing the information in his careful way. "Will you still have time for us? When the baby comes?" Tasha's heart squeezed. Her thoughtful boy always worried about everyone else. "Always, Jordan. Having another baby doesn't mean we love you and Jada any less. It just means we have more love to share. You two will always be special to us. You made us parents. You taught us how to be a family. Plus, you'll be big brother and big sister," Andrew added. "That's an important job. The baby will look up to you and learn from you. You'll be heroes to your little sibling." Jordan considered this, then nodded slowly. "Okay, I can be a big brother. I'll teach the baby about science. And I'll teach the baby about art," Jada declared. "And we'll both protect them from anything scary." Catherine was crying happy tears. "This is wonderful news. Thomas and I are going to have another grandchild." "Number 3, Thomas said proudly. "We're very lucky." The rest of lunch was full of excitement and questions. What would they name the baby? Would it be a boy or a girl? Where would the baby sleep? Could they decorate the nursery? Tasha and Andrew answered patiently, explaining that they didn't know the gender yet and hadn't chosen names, but the baby would have the guest room which they'd convert into a nursery. After lunch, Catherine pulled Tasha aside while Andrew took the twins and Thomas out to the backyard with Sunny. "I want to help," Catherine said. "With the pregnancy, with preparing for the baby, with anything you need. I missed this with Jordan and Jada and I know I can't get that back. But I'd like to be here for this if you'll let me." "Of course," Tasha said. "Your family, Catherine. You're this baby's grandmother. I want you involved." "Thank you. That means more than you know." Over the next few months, Catherine was true to her word. She helped Tasha shop for baby furniture and clothes. She gave advice when Tasha asked for it and kept quiet when Tasha needed to figure things out herself. She threw a baby shower in June that was beautiful and full of love, with all of Tasha's friends and co-workers invited. Rochelle stood next to Tasha at the shower, looking around at all the people who'd come to celebrate. "Look at you," she said softly. 2 years ago it was just you and the twins against the world. Now you've got a husband, in-laws who adore you and another baby on the way. You did it, Tash. You got your happy ending." "We're not at the ending yet," Tasha replied with a smile. "This is just the beginning." The pregnancy was easier than her first one had been. Maybe because she wasn't doing it alone this time. Andrew was attentive without being overbearing, going to every appointment, reading pregnancy books, preparing the nursery with care. Jordan and Jada were involved too, talking to Tasha's belly and feeling the baby kick, already bonding with their sibling. In late August, Tasha went into labor. It was faster this time, more intense. Andrew held her hand through every contraction, whispered encouragement in her ear, and cried when their daughter was born at 2:34 a.m. on September 3rd. "She's perfect," Andrew breathed, staring down at the tiny baby with wonder. They named her Hope Catherine Bennett. Hope because that's what she represented, the hope that had sustained them through hard times. Catherine after Andrew's mother, who had changed so much and worked so hard to make amends. Catherine wept when they told her the baby's middle name. "I don't deserve this honor." "Yes, you do," Tasha said firmly. "You've earned it by being there for us, by loving our children, by becoming the family we needed." Jordan and Jada met their baby sister the next morning, coming to the hospital with Andrew's parents. They were gentle and odd, taking turns holding Hope carefully while adults supervised. She's so tiny, Jordan whispered. We were this small once? Even smaller, Andrew told him. You and Jada were preemies. But you grew up strong and healthy, and so will Hope. I'm going to protect her from everything, Jada announced, gently touching Hope's tiny hand. Nobody will ever hurt her. We'll all protect her, Andrew agreed. That's what family does. Bringing Hope home was an adjustment for everyone. The house that had felt spacious suddenly seemed full of baby equipment. Nighttime feedings disrupted sleep schedules. Sunny the puppy had to learn that the crying baby wasn't a threat. But it was also magical. Watching Jordan and Jada with their baby sister, seeing how gentle and caring they were, filled Tasha with pride. They helped with diaper changes and bottle feeding. They sang to Hope when she cried and made her smile with silly faces. They were amazing big siblings. Andrew was an involved father from day one, something that meant everything to Tasha. He did his share of night feedings, changed diapers without complaint, and wore Hope in a baby carrier while working in his home office. He was present in a way many fathers weren't, making up for the years he'd missed with Jordan and Jada by being there for every moment with Hope. In October, when Hope was 6 weeks old, the whole family gathered at the Bennett estate for a christening. It was a small ceremony, just close family and friends, but it felt important. Hope wore a family christening gown that had been in the Bennett family for generations, and both Catherine and Rochelle served as godmothers. During the ceremony, as the pastor spoke about community and family and raising children in love, Tasha looked around at all the people who'd come to support them. Her best friend Rochelle, who'd been there through everything. Catherine and Thomas, who'd become the parents she'd never had. Jordan and Jada, holding hands and watching their baby sister with protective eyes. And Andrew, standing beside her with Hope in his arms, looking at Tasha like she was his whole world. This was what forgiveness looked like. This was what happened when people chose love over pride, when they worked through pain instead of running from it, when they believed in second chances and the possibility of redemption. After the christening, there was a reception at the Bennett house. Tasha found herself in the library, taking a quiet moment while Hope napped in her carrier. She looked at the family photos on the walls, including new ones of Jordan and Jada that Catherine had added. There was a beautiful portrait of Tasha and Andrew on their wedding day, and another of all 5 Bennetts taken just last week. Catherine came in carrying 2 glasses of sparkling cider. She handed one to Tasha and sat down beside her. I've been thinking about that day 8 years ago, Catherine said quietly. The day I went to your apartment and paid you to leave. It was the worst thing I've ever done, and I think about it often. I wonder what would have happened if I'd made a different choice. If I'd welcomed you instead of driving you away. We can't change the past, Tasha said gently. We can only learn from it and do better. You're very generous to even speak to me, much less let me be part of your children's lives. I don't deserve your forgiveness. Maybe not, Tasha admitted. But I'm giving it anyway. Not because you've earned it, but because holding on to anger was poisoning me. Forgiving you set me free. And look what it gave us. You're an amazing grandmother. You've helped us so much. We're better with you in our lives than we would be without you. Catherine hugged Tasha tightly. Thank you. For giving me a chance to be better. For letting me know my grandchildren. For loving my son the way he deserves to be loved. You've given me everything. They stayed there for a moment, 2 women who'd once been enemies, now connected by love and family and shared purpose. Then they rejoined the party, where Andrew was showing Hope to his former business partners, pride written all over his face. As the evening wound down and guests began to leave, Andrew found Tasha on the terrace, looking out at the grounds where she'd once walked away with a check and a broken heart. What are you thinking about? He asked, slipping his arm around her waist. About how far we've come. About how different everything is now. Better different? So much better. Andrew, do you ever regret any of it? The way things happened, the years we lost. Andrew was quiet for a moment, considering. I regret missing Jordan and Jada's early years. I regret that you had to go through that alone. I regret that my mother hurt you. But do I regret where we ended up? Never. This family, this life we've built, it's everything I ever wanted and more. Sometimes the hard paths lead to the best destinations. That's very wise. I learned it from you. You're the wisest person I know. They stood there together, watching the sun set over the estate, their baby daughter sleeping peacefully inside, their older children playing with their grandparents, their whole family together and happy and whole. I love you, Tasha said. I love the life we've built. I love our children. I love that you kept your promises. I'll always keep my promises to you. Always. Inside they could hear laughter and music, the sounds of family and celebration. Tasha took Andrew's hand and they went back inside together, back to their children, back to the family they'd fought so hard to create. That night, after everyone had gone to bed, Tasha checked on all three of her children. Jordan was asleep with a marine biology book on his chest. Jada was curled around her stuffed elephant, her latest drawing on the nightstand. And Hope was in her bassinet, tiny and perfect and loved beyond measure. Tasha stood in the doorway of each room, overwhelmed with gratitude for everything she had. 8 years ago, she'd been alone and pregnant and scared. She'd taken money from a woman who hated her and walked away from the man she loved because she had no other choice. But she'd survived. More than survived, she'd thrived. She'd raised 2 incredible children. She'd built a career. She'd found her strength. And when Andrew came back into her life, she'd been brave enough to let him in, wise enough to accept his help, strong enough to forgive those who'd hurt her. Now she had everything she'd ever dreamed of and some things she'd never dared to hope for. A husband who loved her completely. Children who were healthy and happy. In-laws who'd become family. A home filled with laughter and love. A future that stretched bright and beautiful ahead of them. It hadn't been easy. There had been tears and fear and moments when giving up seemed easier than pushing forward. But she'd kept going, one day at a time, one choice at a time, always choosing hope over despair, love over anger, forgiveness over bitterness. And in the end, love had won. Love always won when people were brave enough to fight for it. Tasha went to her own room where Andrew was already in bed, reading his own book. He looked up when she came in and smiled, that smile that still made her heart skip after all these years. "You okay?" he asked. "I'm perfect," Tasha said, climbing into bed beside him. "Everything is perfect." "Yes, it is," Andrew agreed, pulling her close. "Yes, it is." Outside, the stars shone bright over Connecticut. In Portland, their house sat empty but waiting for their return. In the rooms down the hall, 3 children slept peacefully, safe and loved and wanted. And in this moment, in this bed, Tasha and Andrew held each other and counted their blessings, grateful for every hard moment that had led them here to this perfect peace. Because sometimes, if you were very lucky and very brave and very determined, broken things could be mended. Love could be found again. Families could be built from pieces that seemed too shattered to repair. Second chances could lead to happy endings that were better than any first chance ever could have been. And sometimes, the story of the girl who was driven away by the billionaire's family ended not with tears and loneliness, but with love and laughter and 3 beautiful children and a man who'd spent 8 years learning to be the person she deserved. Sometimes, the story ended exactly the way it was supposed to. With coming home, with choosing love, with finding family in unexpected places, and with the absolute certainty that no matter what came next, they would face it together. Always together.